When Korean Mafia boss is invited to the wedding of the woman who shattered his heart, he makes a reckless choice. He refuses to arrive alone. On a whim, he pays a mysterious homeless woman $20,000 to be his date. But Amanda is no beggar. Beneath the rags is a fallen heiress whose life, fortune, and family were destroyed by the very bride now walking down the aisle. What begins as a stunt becomes a perfectly timed reckoning. Note: before they showed up at the wedding, he took the poor girl to a saloon where she was transformed. Hey family, welcome to my story channel. Please subscribe and give this video a like. It truly means the world to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thank you so much for the support. Now sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. The scream ripped through the wedding hall the exact second the heavy doors slammed open, sharp and panicked, slicing through the soft music like a blade. The violinist froze mid-note. Glasses clinked and trembled on tables. Every head turned as black shoes stepped onto the marble floor, slow, measured, deliberate, each step echoing like a warning. Conversations died instantly. The groom's smile slipped from his face as if someone had wiped it away. The bride's hands tightened around her bouquet, knuckles whitening, breath hitching. Then whispers rushed through the room like fire through dry grass. That's him. Why is he here? Isn't that her ex? Kong Jae-min stood in the doorway, tall and calm, dressed in a black suit so sharp it looked carved onto his body. His face showed no anger, no joy, nothing at all, and that terrified people more than rage ever could. He scanned the room once, then stepped aside. A woman walked in on his arm. The air shifted. Gasps erupted. She was black, stunning, regal, dressed in a cream gold gown that hugged her figure like it belonged there. Her head was high, her eyes steady, her expression unreadable. The bride staggered backward, her mouth opening but no sound coming out. "No," she whispered. "That's not possible." The woman met her eyes calmly. "Hello, Yura," she said, voice steady, clear, and cold. "Did you miss me?" Panic exploded. Chairs scraped. Someone shouted for security. Phones flew into the air. The groom leaned toward the bride, whispering urgently, "Who is she?" The bride shook her head wildly. "She's nobody," she said, too fast, too loud. Kang's voice cut through the chaos, low and dangerous. "No one leaves." Silence slammed down hard. He looked at the woman beside him. "Amanda," he said quietly, "are you ready?" Amanda smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. "I was born ready," she replied. The bride screamed, "Get her out of here." Amanda turned slowly, facing the guests. "Relax," she said softly. "I didn't come to ruin your wedding." The room exhaled, until she added, "I came to finish what you started." The bride's bouquet slipped from her hands and hit the floor. Tears flooded her eyes as she stared at the woman she thought she had erased from existence. "You should be dead," Yura whispered. Amanda stepped closer. "You tried," she replied. "You burned my house. You framed my father. You took my family's name, my fortune, my life, and you walked away smiling." Gasps rolled through the room. The groom stepped back as if the words themselves were dangerous. "She's lying," Yura shrieked, desperation cracking her voice. Amanda tilted her head. "Then why are you shaking?" Kong reached into his jacket, not for a weapon, but for a phone. "Because lies don't survive light," he said calmly. The bride collapsed into a chair, sobbing, eyes darting between Amanda and Kong as the room buzzed with fear and disbelief. Amanda leaned toward Kong and whispered, "This is just the beginning." Kong nodded once. "Good. If this opening already has your heart pounding, like the video, subscribe for the full story, and comment below, because what happens next will shock everyone." Few hours early, rain slammed hard against the cracked pavement, bouncing off the street like it was angry, as Kong Jae-min stood beside his black car, staring down at the wedding invitation clenched in his hand. The gold letters shimmered under the streetlight, mocking him with every word. "Congratulations on your union." He let out a bitter laugh and crushed the card slowly, feeling the sharp edges cut into his palm. Memories rushed back. Late nights building an empire, promises whispered in the dark, loyalty sworn and then sold without warning. You really have nerve, he muttered, shaking his head. He had planned to ignore the invitation, to let the past rot where it belonged, but something twisted inside him. He would not let her think she had one. He turned to open his car door when a calm voice spoke from the shadows. If you're going to stand there looking angry, you might as well scream. It'll help. Kong looked across the street and saw a woman crouched under a broken shop sign, sheltering herself from the rain. Her clothes were worn and layered, clearly meant to survive nights on the street. A dirty scarf wrapped around her hair. Yet her eyes were sharp, alert, watching him like she was studying a threat. I don't have money, she added. And I don't want problems. Kong didn't look away. I'm not here for either, he said. She scoffed. Men who say that always are. Kong took a step closer, rain soaking into his shoes. I need a date, he said flatly. She laughed, short and bitter. Wrong place. Wrong woman. He met her gaze. I'll pay you $20,000. Her laughter stopped instantly. The rain seemed louder. For what? She asked carefully. Your presence, Kong replied. One night. No touching. No pretending you're happy. She searched his face for madness. You rich men don't pay for company, she said. You buy silence. Kong pulled out his phone, tapped twice, and turned the screen toward her. I don't need silence, he said. I need someone who won't smile for people who hurt me. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. Her breath caught. You already sent it, she whispered. Kong nodded. Get in the car. She hesitated, rain running down her face, then stood slowly. One rule, she said firmly. You don't own me. Kong studied her for a moment, then nodded. Agreed. She opened the door and climbed in. Name's Amanda, she said quietly. Kong started the engine. Kong Jae-min, he replied. Her eyes widened slightly. The Kong Jae-min? He didn't answer. She exhaled. Figures. The city lights blurred past the windows as silence settled thick between them, heavy with questions neither rushed to ask. Finally, Amanda folded her arms and broke it. So, she said, whose wedding am I crashing? Kang's jaw tightened. My ex's. Amanda raised an eyebrow. You're paying $20,000 just to upset a woman? Kang's voice hardened. She didn't just leave. She shattered me and made sure I watched. Amanda nodded slowly. That kind of woman usually leaves bodies. Kong glanced at her. You sound like you know her. Amanda stared out the window, rain streaking the glass. What's her name? She asked. Kong answered without thinking. Yura Hon. The name hit Amanda like a slap. She went completely still. Say that again, she said softly. Kong frowned. Yura Hon. Amanda laughed then, low, broken, full of something dangerous. So that's where she ended up, she murmured. Kong eased the car to a slower pace. You know her? Amanda turned to him, eyes dark. She destroyed my family. Kang's grip tightened on the wheel. Explain. Amanda took a breath. My father owned a logistics company. Powerful. Clean. She was our legal advisor. Trusted. Brilliant. Then money vanished. Contracts changed. Fires started. Police came. Her voice dropped. My father went to prison for crimes he didn't commit. My mother collapsed from the stress. Our house burned down. Kang's chest tightened. And Yura? He asked quietly. Amanda smiled without joy. She walked away rich, respected, and untouched. Silence filled the car. Kong finally said, Then this isn't just revenge for me. Amanda nodded. No, she replied. It's justice for me. Kong exhaled slowly. We stop at a salon first. Amanda scoffed. You think clothes change the truth? Kong replied calmly, no. But they make people listen. Amanda leaned back in her seat. Fine, she said. But when we walk into that wedding, don't protect me. Kong glanced at her. I don't protect liars. Amanda smiled faintly. Then let's ruin a wedding. The car slowed in front of a tall glass building glowing softly against the night rain, and Amanda frowned as she looked up at it. This place looks expensive, she said carefully, already shifting in her seat as if preparing to leave. Kong unbuckled his seatbelt calmly. It is. Amanda shook her head. Then you picked the wrong woman, she replied. I don't belong there. Kong opened his door and stepped out, rain barely touching him. He leaned back into the car and looked at her. Tonight, he said evenly, you belong wherever I walk. Amanda laughed once, sharp and defensive. That's not how the world works. Kong gestured toward the building. It does when people are afraid to ask questions. She hesitated, fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. You think dressing me up will scare her? Kong replied no. It will remind her. Inside, the salon went quiet the moment Amanda stepped in. Conversations stopped. A stylist whispered, "Is she lost?" Another glanced at Kong and swallowed hard. "Sir, are you sure?" Kang's voice was firm. "She's my guest." Amanda stood stiffly as hands reached for her scarf. "Don't," she said sharply. Everyone froze. Kong looked at her. "No one touches you unless you say so." Amanda took a breath and slowly nodded. "Fine," she said. "But don't pity me." A stylist replied softly, "We don't." As warm water hit her scalp, Amanda closed her eyes. Months of grime washed away. She gripped the chair, memories rising. Mirrors she once owned, dresses she once chose, a life she wasn't meant to lose. "You okay?" Kong asked quietly from behind. "I'm remembering who I was," she answered. Scissors moved carefully. Makeup followed. Time passed. When they turned the chair toward the mirror, Amanda stared in silence. The woman looking back at her stood taller, sharper, familiar. "That's her," Amanda whispered. "The girl she tried to erase." Kong watched her reflection. She failed. When Amanda stepped out in the finished gown, the room went still again, but this time, it wasn't confusion. It was awe. A stylist breathed, "You look like royalty." Amanda lifted her chin. "I was," she said simply. Kong approached her slowly. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. Amanda met his eyes. "Yes, I do." He nodded once. "Then we walk in together." In the car, silence pressed in, heavier now. Amanda finally spoke. "She'll recognize me." Kong replied, "Good." Amanda swallowed. "If she panics, she'll lie." Kong said, "I'm ready." Amanda looked down at her hands. They were steady. "If I freeze," she said, "don't pull me back." Kong answered without hesitation, "I won't." The hotel lights appeared ahead, bright and unforgiving. Music drifted faintly through closed doors. Amanda exhaled slowly. "This is where it ends," she said. Kong corrected her. "This is where it begins." As the car stopped, Amanda reached for the door, then paused. "Why did you really choose me?" Kong looked straight ahead. "Because you don't look broken," he said. "You look angry." Amanda smiled faintly. "Good," she replied. "Anger remembers." The moment the car door opened, the sound of wedding music drifted out into the night. Soft, romantic, cruel, and Amanda felt it hit her chest like a blow. Kong stepped out first, adjusting his suit calmly, as if he were walking into a meeting instead of the most dangerous room of his life. He turned and offered Amanda his hand. She paused for a single breath, then placed her hand in his, stepping onto the red carpet that had been laid out for another woman's happiness. Cameras snapped instantly. Whispers rushed through the crowd. "That's Kong Jae-min. Why is he here? Who is that woman?" Amanda kept her head high, her face calm, though her heart pounded so hard she feared it might show. As they reached the massive doors, Kong leaned in slightly. "Once we go in," he said quietly, "there's no turning back." Amanda answered without hesitation, "I already turned back once. It cost me everything." The doors swung open. Music faltered, then stopped completely. Hundreds of guests turned in unison. The groom's smile slipped from his face as if it had been pulled off. The bride, Yura, froze mid-step, her bouquet trembling violently in her hands. Her face drained of color so fast it looked unreal. "No," she whispered, barely audible. Kong and Amanda walked forward together, down the aisle meant for vows, past stunned faces and raised phones. When they stopped a few steps from the altar, Yura finally found her voice. "What is this?" she demanded, forcing strength into her tone. Kong answered calmly, "You invited me." Yura's eyes darted to Amanda and back again. "Who is she?" she asked sharply. The groom leaned toward her and whispered, "You know her?" Yura snapped, "No." Amanda smiled faintly. "You always lied best when you were scared." Yura stiffened. "You shouldn't be here," she hissed. Amanda met her gaze, unblinking. "Neither should you." The room buzzed louder now, tension thick and suffocating. Yura forced a laugh and turned toward the guests. "Please excuse this disruption," she said, voice cracking slightly. "Security will escort them out." Kong didn't raise his voice, but it cut through the noise. "No one is going anywhere yet." Amanda stepped forward slowly, heels clicking against the marble, every sound echoing. "I didn't come to shout," she said calmly. "I came to tell the truth." The groom frowned, confusion spreading across his face. "What truth?" Amanda turned to him. "Ask your bride how she built her fortune." Yura screamed, "She's lying. She's insane." Amanda didn't flinch. "You stole my father's company," she continued, voice steady. "You altered contracts, drained accounts, then burned our house to erase evidence." Gasps rippled through the hall. A glass shattered on the floor. The groom stepped back. "Yura, is this true?" Yura shook her head violently. "She was homeless. She's nothing." Amanda laughed softly. "Funny thing about nothing," she said. "It remembers everything." Kong raised his phone and tapped the screen. Instantly, the large display behind the altar flickered on. Documents appeared, bank transfers, emails, recorded calls, contracts with Yura's signature highlighted in red. The room erupted into chaos. "Turn it off." Yura screamed, rushing forward, but security blocked her. Amanda's voice rose, calm but powerful. "You framed my father," she said. "He died in prison believing he failed his family." Yura collapsed to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "I deserved more," she cried. Amanda looked down at her. "You deserved prison." Sirens wailed outside. Police entered, firm and unhurried. The groom backed away, shaking. "I didn't know," he whispered. Amanda looked at him coldly. "You never asked." Officers grabbed Yura as she screamed Amanda's name, dragging her away. The wedding hall fell into stunned silence. Amanda exhaled slowly, her hands finally trembling. Kong leaned toward her and said quietly, "You stood your ground." Amanda shook her head. "No," she replied. "I took my life back." The moment Yura was dragged out of the wedding hall, screaming Amanda's name and fighting against the officers, something inside the room collapsed completely. It wasn't just the wedding. It was the illusion that everyone had been comfortable believing. Guests stood frozen, mouths open, eyes wide, as the doors slammed shut behind Yura and her voice faded into the distance. The groom stumbled backward and dropped into a chair, his hands shaking as he buried his face in them. "I didn't know," he kept saying over and over, like repeating it might save him. "I swear, I didn't know." Amanda turned toward him slowly. "You knew enough not to ask," she replied, her voice calm but sharp. A woman near the front whispered, "This is tragic," and Amanda snapped her head toward her. "Yes," she said firmly. "It is tragic when innocent people lose everything so someone else can feel important." Silence crashed down again, thick and uncomfortable. The officiant quietly gathered his papers and slipped away. Servers stood frozen, unsure whether to clear tables or disappear. Someone finally turned off the music system, and the sudden quiet felt louder than the screams had been. Amanda's body began to shake now that the adrenaline was fading. Kong noticed immediately and stepped closer, not touching her, just close enough to steady her if she fell. "Slow breath," he murmured. Amanda inhaled deeply, then exhaled, a shaky laugh escaping her. I imagined this moment so many times, she admitted softly. I thought I'd feel relief. Kong studied her face. What do you feel? He asked. Amanda looked around the room, at the broken altar, the fallen flowers, the guests avoiding her eyes. Heavy, she said. But not empty. Reporters pushed forward, voices overlapping. Miss, are you related to the former Han group? Is the bride under arrest? Mr. Kong, did you plan this exposure? Kong raised one hand. No questions, he said evenly. Amanda surprised even herself by stepping forward. I'll answer one, she said. The room went quiet instantly. I was never homeless because I failed, Amanda said clearly. I was homeless because someone powerful decided my family was disposable. Murmurs spread through the hall. Kong watched her closely, something shifting in his expression. She wasn't shaking anymore. She was standing. Outside the hall, police lights flashed red and blue against the building as officers moved with quiet efficiency. Yura's screams were gone now, replaced by the cold hum of sirens pulling away. Amanda stood near the entrance, watching the doors as if making sure they stayed closed. It's over, Kong said quietly beside her. Amanda shook her head slowly. No, she replied. It's finished. Kong handed her a thick folder. Everything that was taken from your family, he said. Assets restored. Properties returned. Your father's name cleared. Amanda opened it with trembling hands, scanning pages she once thought she'd never see again. Tears slid down her face silently. You didn't have to do this, she whispered. Kong met her gaze. I wanted to, he replied. She closed the folder slowly. Why? She asked. Kong exhaled. Because she broke us both, he said. And because I don't ignore injustice when it's standing in front of me. Cameras flashed again. Reporters shouted questions. Amanda straightened her shoulders. I'm done hiding, she said softly. Kong nodded. Then let them see you. She turned toward the cameras, voice steady. This wedding was built on lies, she said. Tonight, those lies ended. The words echoed through the night. Kong watched her carefully, realizing something had changed. She wasn't a guest anymore. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't even just surviving. She was stepping into power. As they walked away together, guests parted instinctively, unsure whether to fear her or admire her. Amanda didn't look back. If this hit you hard, like the video, subscribe for what comes next, and comment if you think the real transformation has only just begun. Morning light spilled through tall windows as Amanda stood alone in the center of the penthouse that once belonged to her family, now restored piece by piece as if time itself had reversed. The space smelled clean, unfamiliar, and full of echoes. She ran her fingers along the edge of the marble table, memories pressing in. Her father reviewing contracts, her mother laughing softly from the kitchen, a life that had been erased without apology. Her phone vibrated constantly on the counter, messages piling up from reporters, lawyers, strangers who suddenly remembered her name. Amanda turned it face down. Not yet, she whispered to herself. A knock came at the door. She stiffened, then relaxed when she saw Kong Jae-min step inside, hands in his pockets, eyes taking in the room without judgment. Looks like it suits you, he said. Amanda let out a slow breath. It feels strange, she replied. Like I borrowed someone else's life. Kong shook his head. No, he said calmly. You took back your own. Amanda studied him. You didn't have to stand with me yesterday, she said. You could have walked away after the exposure. Kong met her gaze. Walking away is how she won the first time, he replied. Amanda nodded slowly. People are afraid now, she said. Kong answered, they should be. She paced slowly, the weight of everything settling in. I don't want revenge anymore, she admitted. I want control. Kang's lips curved slightly. Then stop thinking like someone who lost, he said. Start thinking like someone who returned. Amanda stopped pacing. And how do people like that move? Kong replied, quietly. Legally. Permanently. They sat across from each other as documents spread across the table, names, properties, frozen accounts now unlocked. Amanda listened carefully as Kong explained what had already been done, what could be undone, and what would never be forgiven. Yura's network is collapsing, he said. Banks don't like exposure. Amanda nodded. And the people who helped her? Kong answered calmly, they're choosing sides. Amanda leaned back. I don't want protection, she said firmly. Kong raised an eyebrow. I didn't offer it, he replied. I offered partnership. She studied him for a long moment. You don't trust easily, she said. Kong replied, neither do you. Silence stretched, not uncomfortable, just honest. Amanda finally said, I won't be your weakness. Kong answered without hesitation, you won't be. Her phone buzzed again. She picked it up this time, scrolling briefly. They're calling me a symbol, she said quietly. Kong scoffed. Symbols are dangerous, he said. They inspire people. Amanda looked up. Good, she replied. Kong watched her, realizing she wasn't asking permission anymore. She was deciding. As he stood to leave, he paused. This isn't over, he said. Amanda met his eyes. I know, she replied. It's just balanced now. The shift didn't announce itself with sirens or headlines, but everyone who mattered felt it almost immediately, like a pressure change in the air before a storm. Meetings that once took weeks were suddenly scheduled within hours. Calls that were ignored were returned politely. Doors that had stayed closed for years opened without argument. Amanda sat at the long conference table that once belonged to her father, the same table where he had signed contracts with steady hands and unbreakable faith, listening as lawyers, auditors, and executives spoke carefully, choosing every word as if it might cost them their future. Yura Han's remaining accounts are frozen, one lawyer said. Her partners are distancing themselves. Another added, several companies have agreed to settlements to avoid further investigation. Amanda nodded slowly, absorbing everything without visible emotion. They're not doing this because they're sorry, she said calmly. They're doing it because they're afraid. Kong Jae-min, seated beside her with his arms crossed, finally spoke. Fear is temporary, he said. Certainty is permanent. Amanda turned toward him. Then we give them certainty. The room went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. After the meeting ended, Amanda stood by the window, staring down at the city that once swallowed her whole. They keep asking who you are to me, she said quietly. Kong stepped beside her. And what do you tell them? She thought for a moment. That you didn't save me, she replied. You stood next to me. Kong nodded once. That matters more. She handed him a file. I traced the shell companies she used, she said. Kong flipped through the pages, eyebrows lifting slightly. And the people behind them, Amanda added. Kong looked up. You did this yourself? Amanda met his gaze. I learned early how to survive, she said. I just didn't know I'd need those skills again. For the first time, Kong smiled without restraint, not amused, not cold, but genuinely impressed. You're not rebuilding, he said. You're reclaiming. The weeks that followed were quiet in the way only power can be quiet. Amanda didn't give interviews. She didn't attend parties. She didn't chase attention. She showed up exactly where she was needed, spoke only when necessary, and left before anyone could corner her into promises she didn't intend to keep. Kong watched carefully as people who once ignored her now waited for her approval, adjusting their tone the moment she entered a room. One evening, as they reviewed the final reports confirming Yura's complete financial collapse, Kong leaned back and said, "They're afraid of you." Amanda didn't look up from the documents. "No," she replied. "They're afraid of what they don't control anymore." Kong nodded slowly. "That's worse." She closed the folder and finally looked at him. "What about you?" she asked. Kong raised an eyebrow. "What about me?" Amanda held his gaze steadily. "Are you afraid?" Kong was silent longer this time. "No," he said finally. "But I'm careful." Amanda smiled faintly. "So am I." The silence that followed wasn't tense, it was honest. Kong stood. This is usually where I walk away, he said. Amanda frowned slightly. Why? Kong answered, because alliances turn into expectations. Amanda stood as well. Then let's make ours clear. Kong waited. We're not saving each other, Amanda said. We're not owning each other. We're standing together because we choose to. Kong studied her for a long moment, then extended his hand, not as a boss, not as protection, but as an equal. Amanda took it firmly. Equal, she said. Kong nodded. Equal. As their hands separated, Kong added quietly, people will assume more. Amanda replied calmly, let them. Outside, the city lights flickered on, unaware that a new balance had quietly settled into place. Amanda picked up her coat. This isn't the end, she said. Kong met her eyes. No, he replied. This is the line we don't cross back over. The event hall was nothing like the wedding hall had been. No flowers, no forced smiles, no lies dressed up as love, but it was filled to capacity, buzzing with quiet tension and curiosity. Business leaders, journalists, investors, and government officials filled the room, all waiting for the woman whose name had suddenly returned from the dead. Amanda stood behind the curtain, adjusting the sleeves of her tailored suit, her reflection staring back at her with calm certainty. They're ready, an assistant whispered. Kong Jae-min stood a few steps behind her, watching without interrupting. You don't need me up there, he said. Amanda turned to him. I know, she replied. But I want you here. Kong nodded once. The curtain opened, and the room fell silent. Amanda walked onto the stage alone, every step steady, every eye locked on her. Some of you remember my family, she began, her voice clear and even. Some of you pretended not to. Murmurs spread. She continued, years ago, everything we built was stolen. I disappeared. Many of you assumed I was broken. She paused, letting the silence work. You were wrong. Screens behind her lit up, not with accusations this time, but with plans, partnerships, and restored enterprises. This isn't revenge, Amanda said. This is correction. A man in the audience stood. Are you saying you're taking control of all former Han Group assets? Amanda met his gaze. I'm saying they were always mine. Applause broke out slowly, then grew. Kong watched from the side, his expression unreadable but his eyes sharp. After the event, reporters swarmed again. Miss Amanda, are you working with Kong Jae-min? One shouted. Amanda smiled slightly. We respect each other, she replied. Another yelled, Are you afraid of retaliation? Amanda's smile faded. I survived erasure, she said. Fear doesn't work on me anymore. Somewhere else, behind cold glass and steel bars, Yura watched the broadcast in silence, her face pale, her hands trembling. She whispered Amanda's name again, but this time, no one answered. Later that night, Amanda stood on the balcony of her penthouse, city lights stretching endlessly below. Kong joined her quietly. You shocked them, he said. Amanda exhaled slowly. That was the point. Kong leaned against the railing. You could have destroyed her publicly again, he said. You chose not to. Amanda nodded. She already lost everything, she replied. I didn't need to take her soul too. Kong studied her carefully. You're stronger than you think. Amanda turned to him. No, she said. I finally know exactly how strong I am. Silence settled between them, comfortable and honest. Kong spoke again. People will write stories about us. Amanda smiled faintly. They already are. Kong met her eyes. What do you want them to say? Amanda looked out over the city. That a woman can be destroyed and still return whole. Kong nodded slowly. Then they'll get it wrong, he said. Amanda raised an eyebrow. How? Kong replied, because you didn't just return. You rewrote the ending. She laughed softly, the sound light but sure. And you? She asked. Kong thought for a moment. I learned that power doesn't always come from control, he said. Sometimes it comes from choosing who stands beside you. Amanda extended her hand. Kong took it, not as a promise, not as ownership, but as recognition. The city continued below them, unaware that something rare had happened. Not a love story, not a revenge tale, but a quiet victory. If you want more stories like this, like, subscribe, and comment your favorite moment, because your support keeps the next episode coming.